Hey everyone, this is Demonicmiss, and today I'm actually going to do something that I have been meaning to do for ages, actually. And that's basically a day in my life, right? So today, that's what you guys are going to see. Basically, a day in my regular life. Now, I chose today because my boyfriend and I are both off. So, that works. And so one of the first things I do when I get up is I check Raven's food and water. Hey, Asher.
What are you doing?
Getting stuff from the printer.
Sharon asked me if you wanted to come to the cat printer today. It was like a very last minute.
Yeah, it was at 8:30, and the only reason why I found out about it is because I got
these are the ones I got.
I woke up at literally 8:32 because we needed the car to be moved. So one of the other things that I usually will do in the morning is YouTube. So today's channel for background noise is the Haunted Bat Olympic channel.
Sometimes I can smell Halloween down here.
And Raven's been on food and water. And I check stuff on my computer, so like, as you can see. But since it's Tuesday, I also have computer maintenance and stuff like that going, so I'm running Malwarebytes just to check for any malware. So far, it's not detected anything. And that's the start of my day. I'll show you guys periodically stuff throughout the day. Okay. So now I'm going to find something where these clothes are actually clean. We just have not put them up yet. We're supposed to do that today. So I'm just going to go through here and find some clean clothes to wear. And in the process, fold and put some up while I do that, so we have less to do later. So, I'm hungry, and in order for me to take my meds, I'm supposed to eat. So this morning for breakfast, it's 10:17. This morning for breakfast is gonna be oatmeal. Gonna get the peaches and cream one.
English America. Good wife Joan Wright. Joan Wright called herself a healer, but by all accounts, she was an evil woman. She was a witch.
A witch! Ye are ignorant. You all have misjudged me, and tonight I will set the record straight.
You'll see about that. A witness said that one day, while you were churning butter, two women came to your house. One of the women, a noble woman, a dame no less, told her servant woman to place her hands into the churn of butter, where they were stuck for 6 hours. The servant woman immediately fell down to her knees and begged for forgiveness because she was supposed to be a witch and did not have the power to remove her own hands from the churn. You then used black magic to remove her hands from the churn and then cursed the churn. Is that not true? Good wife Wright.
It is true I was able to get her hands out, but I did not curse the churn. The servant girl was known as a witch, not me.
Well, what about this? Mrs. Perry said that you told her her mistress was sick and suspected that she was under a spell. You told her that a woman would come to her house, take a horseshoe, throw it into the oven, and when it was red hot, throw it into her mistress's urine. Ew! You said as long as the horseshoe was hot, her mistress would be ill. And when it cooled off, she would be well again. Now, isn't that true? Good wife Wright.
This is absurd. That was simple folk medicine. People fear what they do not understand.
Well, Richard Pierce killed another man's calf by accident. You predicted that in the spring he would have a calf to give to the man whose calf he killed by accident. That is fortune telling.
Oh, for heaven's sakes! I told him. Go tonight proves that I'm a witch. Gossip spreads faster than the truth.
Surely there is by no means any possibility you can deny these accusations. You were hired to care for the pregnant wife of a lieutenant. You accepted this position knowing that you had a physical defect. That is the evidence that proves you are a witch. You, Joan Wright, are left-handed. When the lieutenant's wife discovered that you were left-handed, she became hysterical and fired you. You in turn got so mad that you placed a curse on her and her child fell ill. You being such an evil woman allowed the baby to recover before becoming ill a second time and then dying in extreme pain. You are an evil witch. Wicked and hot.
No. People have to wait just 1 minute before casting your vote. So I'm left-handed. Does that really make me evil?
Yeah.
And there was no trial. There was no judge, no jury, just rumors and fear. Oh, and what happened after the hearing? Was it just a coincidence that there are no records of what happened after? And no surviving records of the sentencing? How did that occur? Is me being left-handed the only fact spoken here today mean that I'm a witch? Of course not.
But one of the lieutenant's wife and her baby, is it not a fact that they both fell ill? That the baby died? You see, good people, you see how even now she refuses to take accountability for her crimes.
I was a healer. I was highly knowledgeable with the use of herbs, and I knew how to heal people. I cared for the lieutenant's wife. I was her midwife. Illness happens. Blaming me? That's just unfair. People of Hampton, please give thought to how you vote tonight. It is true, my legacy is the first woman ever accused of witchcraft in English America, right here in what used to be known as Elizabeth County. And there were many accusations placed against me because I knew how to use herbs to heal. Because I was a cunning woman. Because I was so highly knowledgeable, this caused people, especially men, to think that I was too outspoken. But I will say again, take note, there was no trial. Although I will always be remembered in history, especially during your Halloween. My spirit cannot rest until I tell my version of my story.
Your version? Really? Does your version include all those that testified you made threats against them? Or those spells that you put on people who caused those that crossed you to experience bad luck?
I do not dispute that there were many charges placed against me, and I may have in some instances encouraged that belief. I was aware of my gift as a healer, and I felt no reason for that gift to be hidden. I certainly did not fit into their definition of what a woman should be. But I ask you, were any of these allegations actual facts? Did any of these allegations lead to bringing me to an actual trial? No. No, they did not. Of course not.
Yes, you keep saying that. But tell me, how exactly did you respond to these allegations? Did you deny them? Did you proclaim your innocence?
sensational accounts of evil deeds. But again, were any of these charges facts or coincidence? What are the facts that make me a witch? Was I a witch? Or was I a woman? Strong, outspoken, highly knowledgeable woman, misunderstood, but ahead of her time. Are those the facts that make me a witch? If so, I will say to you what I said to the people of 1626. May God forgive you.
Jurors, please note that Joan Wright was never charged with a crime. She was, however, found guilty by the court of opinion. Now that you have heard from Goodwife Wright and the witness, we may now vote. But jurors, please remember that you are voting that either the spirit will transition to the spiritual realm, the good place, or the physical realm, the bad place. Head juror, please call the vote.
Jurors, if you believe Joan Wright is guilty and should stay trapped in the physical realm, raise your hand. Any, please, guilty? Any others?
A left-handed woman that
If
can
you
read.
believe
She's clearly a
Goodwife
witch.
Wright is innocent, raise your hand high.
Smart, attractive people can.
Judge, we the jury find Goodwife Wright innocent.
Goodwife Wright, you are hereby sentenced by the jurors of Hampton Horror Tours to transition to the spiritual realm. Now,
A woman that can read.
jurors,
She's a witch.
please follow me to case number 2.
At Point Comfort in 1855. And one day, my mother felt very ill. She had a fever and was sweating so hard it looked like somebody had thrown water on her. Then I got sick too. We were bedridden and in agony. And then Papa told me once to die. I thought I was dreaming, but in my fever I understood. I was asleep. And then I was gone. How could this happen to us? I'm so angry. The yellow fever virus arrived in June from on ships that sailed from the Caribbean. By August, over 4,000 people had died. Yet my mother and I were the only 2 reported deaths in Hampton. It is so hard to understand why we're the only people that died and we're not even from here.
Mother. Robert, where are you, Mother? Please, maybe you can help me. My name is Esmeralda, and I was a guest at the Hotel Chamberlain in 1920. While I was waiting for my father to return home from work, the hotel caught on fire and tragically caused me to exist in this long, lost state. I remained on the 8th floor of that hotel, staring out that window, waiting for father to come and get me. I waited, and I waited, but he never came. I stood there staring at that window for over 90 years, just waiting day and night. I decided this year that I would leave that building and expand my search. So I'm here and I haven't given up hope. Please, I'm still waiting for Father to find me so we can go home. Please, he loves me so, so very much, and I know that he will return for me.
away the night when we took the camping and some very tours so that it burned down. When we came back, I saw her waiting for me. I ran to her, but she ran away. I'll catch her one day. Greta! Greta!
It appears we are all looking for loved ones tonight. I lived on Fort Monroe with my husband, who was an Army officer. Although my husband was a good man, he was but he was boring. I'm a young, passionate woman. He had no passion other than the Army. While he was away at work, as fate would have it, I found love in the arms of a much younger man. My husband came home, and he found us together. He was obviously distraught, and he pulled out his weapon, and he shot both my lover and I. Through all the chaos and the turmoil, we were separated. But I will never, ever stop looking for my lover, so we can spend eternity together.
Onward to our next case.
Jurors, please follow the case number 2. The murder.
Ladies and gentlemen of Hampton, good evening to you all. My name is George Whit Sweeney, namesake of my beloved great uncle George Whit. You know, George Whit, Justice of the Peace here in Elizabeth County, High Chancellor of the Virginia Chancery Court, signer of the Declaration of Independence, blah, blah, blah. Well, to get to the matter at hand, I was falsely accused of murdering my dear, dear uncle. That is such a ridiculous accusation. My spirit can find no peace until I can clear my name and my legacy. I must be allowed to transition to the spiritual world. I was accused of murder. Actually, was more like a triple crime. I was also falsely accused of poisoning my uncle's servant, Michael Brown, and housekeeper, Lydia Broadnax. I was acquitted by a jury of this murder. I do so tire of being condemned for a crime I did not commit. How, I ask, would I benefit if I had poisoned my uncle? My uncle was a generous man who always saw past my transgressions. He never lost hope that I would clean up my act as I matured. I was a young man of only 18 years when my uncle died. How can a young man with no adult experience be expected to simply straighten up? I admit, I did have financial difficulties, but my uncle was a kind man who only wanted the best for me. My uncle was a great man and a complex man. George Whit, who signed the Declaration of Independence and was the first American law professor at the College of William and Mary. Yes. But I was in need of more guidance, more direction, more attention. My uncle was not a perfect man by any means. He was a slave owner, going as far back to when he lived here in Hampton. He later moved to Richmond, still a slave owner. Now, I grant, in his later years, he did free his slaves. In our home, he allowed his freed housekeeper, Lydia, and servant Michael Brown to continue to work for him as free people. If that wasn't enough, he had the gall to add them to his will. Unbelievable. I found myself becoming very depressed, which caused me to do things that were out of my good character. I was not in my right mind, and because of a few bad decisions, my legacy in history is that I am a murderer. It is my goal here tonight to change that legacy and ask for your mercy. I was a confused, misguided young man who made a few unfortunate decisions.
A few unfortunate decisions? Really? Well, let me see. You stole from your uncle. You stole checks from him. And most importantly, due to your dire need for money, you poisoned your uncle, Michael Brown, and you left me blind.
How dare you speak to me in that manner? You have forgotten your place, girl. I am a descendant of the great George Witt, and you will not! Speak to me in that manner. You and Michael Brown were but lowly servants to my uncle. But due to his fondness for you and the black magic you used to touch his heart, he added you to his will. He even took the boy under his tutelage. Now, for what reason, I ask, would he have to do this if you had not had him under a spell? I stand in front of you, jurors, a desperate man. My spirit is in need to move to its rightful place in the spiritual world. And I beg you, do remember your history. I was found innocent at the time of my trial, and I stand in front of you innocent now. I humbly throw myself at your mercy, jurors.
Mr. Sweeney, how dare you ask for mercy when you showed none? My name is Lydia Broadnax. Michael Brown and I were servants of the great George Witt. Mr. George gave us our freedom and allowed us to continue working as free people. Mr. Sweeney here hated that we were so close to his uncle. For Mr. George was a widower, and Michael and I simply took good care of him. There was no black magic. We simply respected who Mr. George was. If I had been allowed to testify at your trial, you would have hung for your crime. Michael and I were not shown any respect throughout this entire ordeal. Sweeney was not even tried for poisoning me, nor was there any punishment for him leaving me blind. I was not even permitted to testify because I am a black woman. And if I had, you would have been convicted of murder. Michael and I know exactly what happened, and finally our testimony will be heard. You walked into the kitchen the morning of May 25th, and you asked for a toast and coffee. While I prepared the toast, you poured a cup of coffee from the kettle on the stove. Then you replaced the kettle on the stove, but then threw a small white piece of paper into the fire. Well, then you quickly ate your toast, you drank your coffee, and then you left. I brought Mr. George his breakfast. I poured him a cup of coffee from the kettle that you handled. Well, then I poured a cup of coffee for me, and then I poured a cup for Michael. Well, you know, a few minutes after we all drank that coffee, we all became violently ill. When Mr. George called for the doctors, they treated him for cholera. But if they had listened to us when we told them he had been poisoned with arsenic, he might not have died. You took that opportunity to steal checks from him and were arrested for forgery. All of this destruction because you needed money. And then because Michael and I were in the will, you wanted us out of the way. So you killed your uncle, and then you poisoned Michael Brown and me. Well, even though the jury returned a verdict of not guilty, you still had no victory. You see, Mr. George had time enough to change his will before he passed. And he gave your portion to your brothers and sisters. You got nothing. Your lives did not benefit you then, and they don't benefit you now. Mr. Sweeney, these are modern times. And although this is not a perfect world, Michael and I can now be heard. Finally, I can be allowed to pass from this physical world and spend eternity in the spiritual world.
Miss Broadman, I want to assure you, you were heard today. Now, jurors of Hampton Horror Tours, how will you vote? Did George Whiff Sweeney prove his innocence? Or was he just a selfish, miserable brat and triple murderer? Head juror, please take the vote on this idiot.
Jurors, if you believe George Whiff is guilty, raise your hands. If you believe George is innocent, raise your hand now. Judge, we, the jurors, we, the jury, find Mr. Sweeney guilty.
Mr. Sweeney, you are hereby sentenced by the jurors of Hampton Horror Tours to remain in the physical realm. Jailers, seize him!
What is this? No, unhand me! You pretend! Let go of me this instant!
Please follow me to a very secret and special location in the physical realm. The tormented souls of the boys during the Revolutionary War.
But working on a ship meant having a bed to sleep in and meals to eat. The remaining who perished in battle will die from disease. But our life, no matter how short, was lived with honor.
My spirit recognized the enslaved and was volunteered by their enslavers to be younger boys in the Revolutionary War. Blackfellows were very common in the British Army. Most were 16 or older, but there were some like me that was 12. We had many duties around the camp. We cleaned, we helped strip the meals, and we also saw disease, injury, and death, just like the soldiers.
Now, jurors, please follow me to a very special and secret case that just entered the dockets of Hampton Horror. These two were very important to the Revolutionary War. Listen very closely to their testimonies.
We want to summon the souls for this trial. The people of Hampton deserve to hear the truth. Let me speak.
Mr. Harris, this court does not entertain petty grievances. But since you have interrupted, state your case.
Thank you, Your Honor. I am Joseph Harris, born a slave here in Hampton. I was a harbor pilot, skilled in navigating these waters. That skill gave me a taste of freedom, and I wanted more. When Lord Dunmore, the British governor of Virginia, issued his proclamation of 1775, offering freedom to all enslaved people who joined the British cause, I seized the chance. I piloted British ships, including those in Dunmore's fleet, and I was part of the Battle of Hampton, the first Revolutionary War battle outside of New England. That battle brought the Southern colonies into the war. It should have been a turning point, a chance for thousands of enslaved people to rise up and claim freedom. But instead, men like you, Caesar Tarrant, chose to fight for the very people who kept us in chains. You and others who fought for the Patriots prolonged our bondage.
Objection, Your Honor. That's a dangerous oversimplification.
Sustained.
My name is Caesar Tarrant. I fought for the Patriot cause not because I loved my chains, but my fighting for the Patriots unknowingly put me on the path to freedom. I served in the Virginia State Navy for 4 years piloting Patriot ships. My skills earned me respect, and my respect eventually earned my freedom. Joseph, you speak of freedom as if it were guaranteed by the British, but many who joined them were sent back to plantations, or exiled to Canada or Sierra Leone, where life was harsh. Actually, he never tasted freedom because he died of disease before the war ended. I lived to see mine.
Yes, I died before I could be free, but there were thousands of freedom seekers that did seek freedom. People like Suki Godfrey, who I summoned here today to testify about her experience.
Well, I escaped my enslavement, Francis Ross from Hampton, and I joined Dunmore. And on the way I met my husband, Sam Godfrey. He escaped from Norfolk and joined the Royal Artillery Department. Now, thinking about Dunmore's proclamation, my kids were born free behind British lines during the war. You see, me and Sam, we were joined by more than love. We were united in our quest for freedom. And we were free. And we settled in blissful freedom in Nova Scotia, Canada. And to think, if I hadn't taken my chance, my opportunity, I could have spent the rest of my days as a slave. Now, when Dunmore had his reasons for the proclamation, he needed the enslaved people to fight for the British. And it wasn't always easy. They didn't always treat us fair. But it was worth it to be free.
Thank you, Miss Godfrey, for your wonderful testimony. Mr. Tarrant, tell us about the war. Were you even free?
No, not immediately. I was forced back into slavery. But years later, the Virginia Assembly granted me land and freedom. I lived out my days in Hampton as a respectful member of the community.
And yet, the bigger picture remains. You and others who fought for the Patriots gained individual freedom, while the majority remained enslaved.
Jurors, you now hold the fate of Caesar Tarrant in your hands. Should he remain in the physical realm, burdened by the consequences of his choice? Or shall we pass on to the spiritual realm, honored for his service?
This is unjust! I made the best out of the situation I was in. It just so happened that it worked out for my good in the end. While freedom seekers such as Miss Godfrey did receive their freedom, they were forced away from their home, sent to places where life was still made hard. As for me, I lived out my days in Hampton as a free man, with my family, on our own.
Silence! Life is rarely fair. In death, even less so.
raise your hand. If you believe Caesar Tarrant is innocent of these charges, raise your hand. Your Honor, we, the jury, find Caesar Tarrant innocent.
Caesar Tarrant, you are hereby sentenced by the judge of Hampton Horror Tours to remain in the physical realm. Overruled! Please.
Ladies and gentlemen, please shift your focus and step straight over here as our next scene will be ready. For this is the very first time ever that a soul that has already transitioned to the spiritual realm has been brought back to the physical realm to be tried. This individual was a legend of courage, a conductor of freedom, and a healer of the wounded. Ladies and gentlemen, Harriet Tubman and smallpox at Fort Monroe.
I never expected you to be called back from the spirit realm. But if I have to talk about this sad time here at Fort Monroe, my name is Harriet Tubman. Some of you might know my work as a conductor with the Underground Railroad. But during the Civil War, I wore many hats that you might have read about. I was a cook in the Union Army, a scout, and I led the Combahee River Raid in South Carolina, where we helped over 700 enslaved people to freedom. I was also a nurse in the Union Army, and I was appointed by the Surgeon General as nurse matron of the Colored Hospital at Fort Monroe, where I took care of the wounded black soldiers. I'm told that's why I'm here with y'all today. Let me tell you what it was like. The conditions at the hospital were terrible. Supplies were scarce, food was gone, and there wasn't even a clean change of clothes to wear. Disease was everywhere, especially smallpox. I saw firsthand how the colored soldiers were not treated the same as the white soldiers. They weren't even given the same type of care. I couldn't just sit back and allow that to continue, so I reported it. I sure did. I reported it to the officials in Washington, D.C. I had to do all I knew how to help these poor soldiers. I stayed in Fort Monroe for 3 months, then I returned to my home in Auburn, New York. So, Judge, Your Honor, why have I been summoned here?
Head juror, read the charges.
Araminta Harriet Ross Tubman. Well, at the Colored Hospital at Fort Monroe, you used your knowledge of herbs to heal many ailments and diseases. One of them being smallpox, which claimed thousands of lives, not only at the Colored Hospital, but throughout the Grand Contraband Camp at Fort Monroe. You are charged with abandonment of your post. Smallpox killed 3 out of 10 people, and it is very clear that the disease had a devastating impact not only at the contraband camp, but beyond. If you would have stayed longer than 3 months, you would have been able to heal more soldiers. For that, it is uncertain if you will return to the spiritual realm.
Abandonment? I beg your pardon, but I have put my life in danger since the time I escaped that plantation in Maryland. By the time the Civil War was over in 1865, and I was asked to come here to Fort Monroe. I used all the knowledge I got from my mama on how to heal with the herbs of the land. I spent so much time scouting the area looking for the right herbs. I cooked, cleaned, and bathed the colored soldiers. I worked myself to the bone. I did all I knew how to. I took care of them. I made the reports to Washington because I was hoping they would make the changes that were needed. I was exhausted, tired, and I needed to go home. It was all I had to do. My soul did rest until I transitioned in 1913, and to be brought back here just wounds my spirit, and I want to go back soon.
Mrs. Tubman, the people of Hampton will decide your fate. Head juror, please take the vote.
If you believe Miss Tubman did all she could at Fort Monroe and is innocent of these charges, raise your hand. If you believe Miss Tubman should have stayed longer and killed more soldiers at Fort Monroe, raise your hand.
Mrs. Tubman, we apologize for bringing you back to the physical realm for this trial. Thank you for everything you have done in your lifetime and beyond. You are free to go to the spiritual realm. Ladies and gentlemen, we are transitioning into this realm of disease and torment. We call this smallpox. You may not have seen this case in your Virginia history books, but it is about one of the deadliest diseases of the 18th century. What is it? Smallpox. To explain, we call on Hampton's own Dr. McClure.
Oh.
Good evening. My name is Dr. Walter McClure. During the Revolutionary War, I operated in the smallpox hospital here in Hampton, to which I was appointed as surgeon. I am a smallpox expert. Smallpox was, or how you say, it spreads through the air and transforms its victims into cold, fucking horror stories. First came the fever, muscle with backaches, red spots that would then turn into blisters that would become filled with pus. Eventually they would dry out and be scars. It is such a pity that you modern-day mortals cannot understand one of the most powerful diseases of all time. You are also weak and frail. You cannot have withstood the anguish. Back then, there was no vaccine. The only way to protect yourself was through inoculation, a particularly risky procedure in which the parts from an infected person would be placed into the broken skin of a healthy individual. This would cause them to get a mild form of the disease and cause them to build immunity. Hopefully. Perhaps demonstration. Yes, yes. Come now. You, come now. Patient 1 has smallpox. Patient 2 does not. I will cut and scrape. Thank you. I will scrape a small amount of pus from the infected person. Will take this. Thank you. I will then cut open the skin of the healthy individual. Oh, don't be such a baby. You should go back. I will then place the pus inside. Voila. If it worked, you would get healthy and never get smallpox again. If it didn't work, well, you would die. If you had to ask me, I would say it's well worth the risk. Wouldn't you say?
Let's move on to the trial. Before the war, smallpox was not really an issue in most of Virginia. But during the Revolutionary War, it spread rapidly due to the close quarters of the camps and on the ships. This realm is separated from the rest of the physical realm due to the crimes of one man, that of Charles Cornwallis, general of the British Army troops during the Revolutionary War. He has been trapped here for 250 years. Let's hear his story.
I am Charles Cornwallis, first Marquess Cornwallis, knight, the most noble royal ruler of the Garter, privy councillor to His Majesty the King, former Governor General of India. Largely known for the unfortunate events of Yorktown, my legacy spans continents and crowns. But even my prestigious military career cannot shield me from the judgment of time. Doubtless, Americans remember me for the surrender at Yorktown, which, unfortunately, led to the defeat of the British Army.
Gentlemen, although you had a very successful career, do you even know why you're here? Clerk, read the charges.
Your crimes against humanity during the Revolution. Thousands of us escaped our enslavers. And we ran to join your army under Lord Dunbar's proclamation. Any enslaved person that escaped his enslavers would find freedom. You took those freedom seekers and they built your forts and they found your food and they supported your troops. When the smallpox spread, you took the sick, you took the starving, and you pushed them out of your camp. Hundreds died, their bodies littered the bay. No, not that. So many of us had to go back into slavery. Oh no. Our stories have never been told.
I remember. I was in charge of 6,000 troops and thousands more freedom-seeking black loyalists. Provisions were scarce, food was almost gone, and what was left was not fit for the dogs. What was I supposed to do? Let them starve? How could we win? And how could those enslaved ever truly be free if we could not win? There were so many sick and diseased. If I let them stay within the fortifications, thousands more would have died. We tried to check the pox. There were already so many ill. I had to choose. Risk losing the war, protect my men. I chose to save my men.
There was possibly another reason you made this decision. It's been claimed that your decision was made to send victims of smallpox back to their enslavers' plantations so smallpox could spread and kill more colonists than your massive army ever could. Patriot Virginian State George Tucker says an immense number of Negroes have died. It was a miserable man in war. Thank you.
I've heard enough. Lieutenant, you are charged with crimes against humanity. by using germ warfare as a weapon against the colonies.
Germ warfare? It's absurd.
Silence! I've heard enough. Germ, please take the vote.
If you believe General Cornwallis is guilty of germ warfare, raise your hand, and you will be confined to the physical realm. If you believe General Cornwallis is innocent, raise your hand. Your Honor, we, the jury, find General Cornwallis guilty.
General Cornwallis, you are hereby sentenced by the jurors of Hampton Horror Tours to remain in the physical realm. You may leave. Jurors, please follow me to our last case.
That time again.
Attention,
Here,
jurors. The next case begins.
horror tour. Another opportunity to plead for my everlasting soul unto the good, simple folk of Hampton. All right. Suppose we best be on with it. My name is Elijah Kane, and I was indicted in what the papers called in 1931 the murder trial of the century. And you know, that line used to elicit a great deal more recognition from this crowd. But as the years have gone by, I see less and less of that. And so I feel it prudent to back things up, if you'll permit, and start this story with a more proper introduction. You may call me Professor Elijah King, former esteemed academic and scholar of Romance languages in residence at the time of my trial at the University of Tennessee. Furthermore, I am a member of the illustrious Pennsylvania Kane family. My father, Dr. Evan O'Neill Kane, medical doctor, was a trained surgeon who gained acclaim for, at different times in his life, operating to repair his own hernia and remove his own appendix. His father, for whom I am named, Elijah Kent Kane, was an even more famous Arctic explorer. So you could see that even had it not been for my own superior intellect, by pedigree alone, I was destined for greatness. Greatness, of course, interrupted by my involvement and entanglement, if you will, in that aforementioned murder trial of this century. That being the one preceded by the death of my beloved wife, Jenny Graham Kane. Jenny and I met in 1919, when, as a young man, my military service brought me here to Hampton. She, at the time, resided with her family in nearby Hilton Village, Newport News. And I must say, her family hated me from the start, but we fastly fell in love. For what it's worth, my family loved Jenny. And Jenny loved my family. After we were wed, and I wisely moved us away from Newport News, my father actually became Jenny's personal physician. She trusted him so much, she even confided unto him a heart condition that she'd been keeping secret even from her own family, no doubt because her mother would have used it as an excuse to prevent her from marrying and moving away. But that we were safely away in Tennessee, I did, because I am not an unreasonable husband or caretaker to my wife. I did permit occasional travel back here to Newport News so that we might see her family and give her that experience. It was on one such trip in 1931 that her life ended and mine changed forever. September of that year, we decided that we would spend a day at the beach. And though I am no great lover of surfing sand, I was excited to jump at the opportunity to spend a day away from my mother-in-law. So we packed up the family sedan with a picnic and blankets and went to nearby Grandview Island. And there we followed, played, and enjoyed the cool summer breeze of the Chesapeake Bay as it turned to fall. And we swam. And while we were swimming, Jenny mounted the rocks at the base of the back river light. Emboldened by her excitement, she recklessly leapt from those rocks, landing in the water she resurfaced immediately, screaming at the top of her lungs. Now, I swam as quickly as I could to my beloved, but by the time I got there, I found her unconscious, floating. I dragged her with all of my might through the surf, laid her upon the beach, but unable to resuscitate her there, loaded her into the car and drove, screaming like a gnat, through the streets of Hampton on my way to Dixie Hospital, where I was informed Saturday that my wife had died. Now, I told the doctor there at Dixie Hospital about Jenny's heart condition, and he declared her death an accidental one. But Jenny's mother, as you can imagine, found the story of a heretofore undisclosed heart condition entirely too convenient to be uncontrived. What's more, she came forward with what she thought was proof that Jenny had been murdered and that I was the guilty culprit. You see, Jenny had been spying. She had found in the outgoing post a letter I had written to another woman, one Betty Dalton. Now, in this letter, there may have been some small mention of getting rid of my wife and running off together. But before you jump to conclusions, let me remind you, I was a renowned academic, chiefly and deeply engaged in the pursuit of the awakening of human emotion through the written word. So, any letter I might have written to a woman other than my wife was a part of that academic pursuit and nothing more. Very clearly. But, as I can see the skepticism in your face, many in the public shared that opinion. Even the doctor who had initially ruled Jenny's death accidental recanted, changed his mind, and declared her the victim of a homicide. And so it was that I was brought to trial for my own wife's murder. Now, throughout the trial, more than 100 witnesses were brought before the court, many of those in an attempted character assassination, carefully and dastardly orchestrated by that mother-in-law of mine. Many others came to testify on my behalf. Friends from Tennessee, from Pennsylvania, they came from far and wide to tell the jury, to tell the world, how I was a doting husband, a loving father to my wife, and would never have wished her harm. But that never threatened to rule the day. Until, of course, it was deemed inadmissible by the judge. You see, while it had been printed and reprinted and shared far and wide in newspaper after newspaper, by the time of the trial, the original had been lost. And without it, the judge had to instruct the jury not to take it into consideration. And when my father testified about Jenny's heart condition, he had some sway over that jury. And so it was that I was acquitted for the crime of my wife's murder. You might be wondering why, as an acquitted man standing here, acquitted soul, I should say, after all of these years, standing here begging for your assistance. Well, that court of public opinion that you've heard so much about tonight has deemed me guilty all of these years. And so here I stand, tethered to the graveside of my beloved Jenny. You see, she lies very near to here at St. John's Church, in a plot that I picked out. The epitaph upon her headstone that I chose, still legible. Nessun maggior dolore che ricordarsi che temo felice nella miseria. And yes, I can tell that not one among you, by the dumbstruck looks on your plebeian faces, not one among you can translate Dante from the original Italian. Well, I'll do it for you. There is no greater misery than to recall times of joy amid grief. And grief is what my life has become, year after year, waiting for reprieve, begging for reprieve from the likes of you. Oh, and if yet you are unconvinced, then all I can ask is this: yield to the great mind. Do as I say, and release me from this realm.
Poor, misunderstood. Poor,
I was rich.
pompous,
Innocent.
egotistical. You egg-headed know-it-all. Hedger, please take the vote on Professor Kane.
If you believe Kane is innocent of these charges, raise your hand.
some of you have written letters.
If you believe Mr. King is guilty, raise your hand.
Well, he's rich.
Certainly you all have mothers-in-law.
I hear him. I hear him. Where is he?
Jenny, tell them. Tell them.
There he is, Betty.
Tell them.
Look at him,
Betty.
still talking about his favorite subject, himself.
Do not listen to them.
You got lucky during that trial. You were found innocent, but I know you were involved in my death.
Jenny, how could you say
Something pulled me under the water that day, and I couldn't get out. I didn't even want to go to the beach that day. But I listened to you. I always listen to you. Look where it got me. Dead.
Jenny, don't talk like that. You'll never get out of this round. I waited a long time to ask you this. Tell him, Betty. Did you ever really love me, Elijah? I kept your letter, and I read it over and over again. And at some point, the love in my heart, it turned hate. I just need to know, did you ever really love me?
No, he didn't. He's never loved anything but the sound of his own voice.
Who could fault me for that?
Betty, come take it. You killed him.
Jenny, no.
Murderer!
Just strong.
Well, the spirit trials have come to an end. Please follow me to the conclusion of this matter.
Where is it? Come on up. All right, keep going.
Thank you guys for coming. Emily, Betty, George, Brittany, and the doctor.
She was in the left.
Hi, I'm Denise.
All right.
Say your name.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Very fun. Nice to meet you. Thanks for coming. Hope y'all enjoy it.
And the next